Are you tired of not knowing how to scout properly? Wish you knew how to do it? Today, take your scouting from this, well, to this. Wait a minute, that's the wrong fucking game. Start this shit over. Hello and welcome to the video. Today we're going to be looking at scouting in DomiNations. Before we get into the nitty gritty, let's quickly cover a few things. Firstly, what is scouting? Well, it's an attack aimed at revealing enemy SAMs, CGIs, traps and troops that they may have in the stronghold and the town centre. Who may perform a scout attack, I hear you ask? Well, it's likely going to be somebody that is a defender using 3 defensive coalitions, or it may be a lower level, lower age person on the team that can't 5-star a target. When are we going to do a scout attack? Well, it's when the opposition has got a defender that may prove difficult to take down. And lastly, why are we going to do a scout attack? Well, we're going to do it to enable the attacker to have a better idea of what that strong defensive player has in store. Now we've covered that, let's look at how to scout correctly. Before we do though, I just want to give a big shout out to Jim over at Jedi Wizards. He had the idea for the video and shared with me his invaluable knowledge, which I hope to share with you now. One more quick thing though, speaking of other wizards, thank you to all of you who have subscribed recently. The channel has absolutely been blowing up. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing so. Do it. And maybe even join the Discord where there's lots of like-minded people who just love DomiNations, link in the description below. Right, back to it. So the main objective of a scout attack is to reveal enemy SAMs, CGI's traps and identify the troops in the stronghold and town centre. Let's firstly look at what troops you may take with you on a scout attack. In your airstrip, you're going to want to take all fighters. For troop tactics, take any sort of plain troop tactic. Red Barons are best as they have the highest HP. For your troops, you're going to want to take attack helicopters as they can also reveal SAMs and CGIs. For tactics, you're going to want to take at least 1 decoy, and then primarily you're going to take sabotages. And the reason for this is to stop the air defense from damaging your fighters as much as possible. Okay, so let's look at the drop sequence, because getting this in the correct order is going to enable you to reveal as much as you possibly can about the enemy's base. Firstly, you can use your drone to trigger CGIs that may be on the flight path towards the missile silo. Next, we're going to send Zukov on a mission from one corner down to the other corner. This is going to identify any SAMs and CGIs that may be along this side of the base. And we're going to do this on the side that has the shortest path to the missile silo, as this is most likely where attackers will strike from. When Zukov has made it down to the corner, we're then going to send him down the other side, down to the next corner, to try and reveal any SAMs and CGIs that may be down the next side of the enemy's base. He may not make it very far, and if he dies, that's fine. Now we move on to the next part. Now we're going to deploy attack helicopters around the sides that Zukov didn't go down. Once we have deployed them around the edges, we can then rally them to the centre of the base, and on their way they will trigger any SAMs and CGIs as they make their way to the centre of the base. The next phase is going to be sending in our fighters and using our sabotages. You're going to have to keep a close eye on the cycle of the enemy drone. When counterintelligence is active, you won't be able to use sabotage, so wait for it to switch and then you can. Sabotage the enemy air defense, and if you can, machine gun towers. Then send in your fighters to key locations in the center of the enemy base. The idea is to get them to cover as much ground as possible, with the aim of identifying as many SAMs and CGIs that may be spread across the enemy's base. Now we wait for the enemy drone to cycle off of counterintelligence, and we do the same again from another side of the enemy's base. Again, we send in the fighters, and at this point maybe even some of your fighter troop tactics. If your drone survived the initial deployment, make sure you move it again across the base, again trying to cover as much ground as possible to trigger any SAMs and CGIs. You're essentially going to repeat this cycle until you have covered as many areas of the enemy base as possible. You should be able to cover all 4 sides of the enemy base with your fighters if you use and time your sabotages correctly. Lastly, we're going to use that decoy to trigger the stronghold to be able to identify the troops that may be within there. And now just deploy any mercenaries and donated troops in an area that your attacker may strike from. This will help reveal any ground traps that there may be in these locations. Keep moving the drone and cycling that across the enemy base while all of this is going on. And the final thing we're going to do is use that SAT scan tactic, and we're going to use this in a place where we feel we may have missed any SAMs. SAT scan does not reveal CGIs, hence why it's important to keep cycling your drone throughout, as that will proc them. If you finished all of this, do not end your attack, let it play out to the very last second, as then it's easier to calculate whether or not you may be in a position to beat the enemy on total attack time if it gets to a point where you may be able to draw in the war. Now, if you want to be a real hero as a scouter, you may go back over that replay, take a screenshot, and then clearly mark where any of those SAMs and CGIs were that you identified so that your attacker can clearly see where they are on the enemy's base. Oh, and final thing to mention, you need to make sure you get at least 1% destruction on the enemy base, otherwise your attack will not count and you will not get to see the replay. And that's going to bring us to the end of the video. Hopefully that has shown you some things on how to scout in DomiNations. Please make sure you like and subscribe, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.